Carcharodontosaurus. Welcome guys once again to the channel Ranking with Dinosaurs, where today we will be ranking a much awaited group of dinosaurs. Yes, one of the most famous group of theropods, the Carcharodontosaurus. Yes, it's a long time coming. A lot of you requested it, and I mean, I love Carcharodontosaurus as much as the next guy, so this is going to be a nice amalgamation of Carcharodontosaurus we're going to be looking at today. Obviously, as with every other two-days I do, well, not every single one, but this one's about specific groups. I'm not going to mention every single dinosaur. I know, there's a ton. I could always do part 2 if you want, if you like this video enough, but yes, so things like, most of the new guys are not going to be showing up here, and the recently named one, TYRANNOTITAN, yeah, I'm not going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the most famous ones, or at least the most well-known ones, and I'll sneak in a couple of the new guys as well. So, we're going to be starting with Carcharodontosaurus. So, we're going to be starting with the most famous genus. I want to say most famous, but, there's been a more recent one that has overtaken it. But come on, here's the OG Carcharodontosaurus from North Africa. What do we know about this guy? I mean, they were huge. First of all, we most of the time take the discussion of the biggest dinosaur towards, T-Rex or Giga, fellow Carchar. But we fail to remember, bro. There's like so many huge theropods. Why do we have to be fighting over which one is the biggest one when freaking Carcharodontosaurus was like 39 to 41 feet? Like, that's huge. But yeah, this guy was most of its first remains that were discovered in 1914 were sadly bombarded and destroyed and sent to the Shadow Realm in a very sad destiny that it shares with a fellow dinosaur from its same formation, its arch nemesis, Spinosaurus. But yeah, so first fossils were destroyed, and later in the century, late 1900s, we found another fossil, which became the new neotype. So, which is almost a complete skull. And I'm going to be starting with, skulls of Carcharodontosaurus are freaking huge. Like, we give a lot of credit to Tyrannosaurs for having big skulls, but these guys just have very long skulls. Or that's at least what we thought until new findings. But the newest Carcharodontosaurus skull is freaking massive. The main difference between these guys and Tyrannosaurs is like the width. So these guys have more narrow skulls and more triangular looking ones. And yeah, so one thing as well, we all think Carcharodontosaurus' name means a shark-toothed lizard, but no, here to burst your bubble, it means jagged-toothed lizard, because what Carcharodon comes from the genus name Carcharodon, which is the great white shark and other types of closely related sharks. And guess what Carcharodon means? Jagged tooth. So we're gonna be still calling them shark-toothed lizards. That just sounds way cooler. But yeah, Carcharodontosaurus, he's an OG. Come on, we gotta put an A tier at least. CONCAVENATOR. So we're going to be going with a bit of an oddball in the Carcharodontosaurus family. Concavenator. So this guy is from early Cretaceous of Spain. So early as far back as 125 million years ago. So by this discovery, we can have a certain idea of where Carcharodontosaurus most likely originated from. And it's most likely Europe. And then it sort of spread out all over the world. There's Carcharodontosaurus almost everywhere. Which is a little strange because mostly Carcharodontosaurus, what do you usually associate it with? Africa and South America. But no, they were almost worldwide. And it all started with, well, it didn't all start, but we have an insane fossil of one CONCAVENATOR. So what is the most prominent feature of CONCAVENATOR? Well, it's the huge hump-like structure in its back. Now, what was that made for? I don't know. It would look something like this. That hump you see on the back right there, yes. We don't know why that is. Honestly, it's so weird, and it's such a strange place, and it's such a small animal as well. CONCAVENATOR is it's almost 16, 20 feet, something like that. So for Carcharodontosaurus, it's actually really small, honestly. But, you know, oh, he died. It does share some of the same characteristics with later, more derived Carcharodontosaurus, like the triangular head, the reduced forelimbs, and the long legs. CONCAVENATOR also has an insane, what would you call it? Insane traces of scale impressions. First of all, scale impressions in a dinosaur is already rare enough, but for a Carcharodontosaurus that we don't have that many fossils of them, it's honestly impressive. The skeleton is almost entirely articulated, and there's quill-like structures on its ulna, so it would be here, that suggests that it had quill-like structures, not necessarily feathers, but quills, which are a thing in birds and other feathered like theropods. So this goes to show that feathers were probably, or something similar, was something ancestral to all of these guys. So CONCAVENATOR, insane. Also, I'm waiting for a documentary on a CONCAVENATOR in Spain. Please make it happen. It's going to be an A tier. MAPUSAURUS, the earth lizard. So we're going to be taking a quick look into Carcharodontosaurus in South America. South America is a breeding ground for Carcharodontosaur fossils, and we're going to be first starting with MAPUSAURUS, and this one got really popular in the early 2000s. It's by documentaries especially, and because it lived with one of the largest sauropods ever, Argentinosaurus, which might have been its predator, but definitely not full adults. Yeah, the MAPUSAURUS, no matter how big it is, look at this MAPUSAURUS figure, it's actually pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. This MAPUSAURUS, while being huge, is a bit smaller than Giga, but you can see the triangular looking head. I think, I can show you better this way. You see the triangular head gets tapered down the bottom, and you can see the chat chin, now known in almost all Carcharodontosaurs. Also, another overlooked feature I see in Carcharodontosaurus that we don't talk about it unless you're a certain one is these high spines on the back, which probably were muscle attachments. So they were it probably helped with their neck strength to compensate a little bit for their weaker bites. Not weaker than Tyrannosaurus, for example, but they're still strong, but not as strong. But yeah, MAPUSAURUS, in fossil discoveries, we did find 7 or 8 individuals, I believe. Yeah, 7 or 8 individuals, something like that. And they were at different growth stages. So there's 2 theories. Each of them have their, supporters and detractors, but were they gregarious animals, were they in packs, were they in families, something like that? Or was this just like a cemetery for Carcharodontosaurus? Not like they went to bury them, but like a carcass deposit of predators, which could be as well, just a way we're just washing them up in the same place. Who knows? Unless we find, I don't know, some insane, I don't know how you would, you justify gregariousness in theropod dinosaurs. But MAPUSAURUS is really nice. It's cool. I'm not saying it's not. I'm gonna put you in B tier though. TYRANNOTITAN. So we're gonna be going right ahead and with more Carcharodontosaurus from South America. This is the Tyrannotitan from early Cretaceous. Now, we have found a few specimens of Tyrannotitan. However, they are incomplete as hell, as any other Carcharodontosaurus is. But yeah, so Tyrannotitan, the few bones that we have, we can actually tell it was actually a pretty bulky animal, all things considered. But its place, like the interesting thing is its place in the tree, in the Carcharodontosaur tree, because while it is a Giganotosaurini, which means it's a little group of Carcharodontosaurids from South America, which are very closely related because they look very similar to Giganotosaurus. But Tyrannotitan also shares a little bit of similarities with Carcharodontosaurus, which is from, you guessed it, we said at the beginning of the video, North Africa. So what I'm thinking is probably Tyrannotitan was a transition, between, more Carcharodontosaur looking Carcharodontosaurus to more Giganotosaur looking Carcharodontosaurus. Oh my god. Saying Carcharodontosaur like 100 times is so hard. But yeah. From Tyrannotitan we haven't found trackways or track sites are not non-diagnostic, at least for a specific genus or something, unless, I don't know, the fossil is like right there next to the tracks. But based on these tracks, it is theorized that these guys had more of a ambush kind of method of hunting, because of the way the trackways are and how the environment was, which was semi-arid, but it had a lot of river systems around. So they probably try to ambush more juvenile sauropods or other hadrosaurs in these water systems, because every animal needs to drink. So Tyrannotitan, I'm not gonna lie, I think you're gonna go straight into B tier as well. I'm tempted to putting you in C tier, but your name is kind of saving you. MERAXES. So we're gonna be moving on with another Carcharodontosaur from South America. Yes, we're still here. It's gonna be MERAXES. Now, this is a pretty cool one. Well, first of all, the name MERAXES comes from a dragon from Game of Thrones, and I actually want to know your opinion about that. What do you think about dinosaurs being named after pop culture, like having pop culture references as dinosaur names? I don't know. I'm still waiting for Shrek. But yeah, MERAXES is from, again, South America, and it actually shares some shapes and some sizes of its fossils with ACROCANTHOSAURUS, which is a little strange, but you can kind of tell. I'm going to show you right here. Yes, a MERAXES figure. Again, the high spine ridge is actually very prominent for Carcharodontosaurus. Not as prominent as an acro, but it's still pretty noticeable here. Has pretty really reduced forelimbs, even for some of its cousins. Like, they were really tiny. And one of the coolest things about MERAXES is the second toe having in a large claw. If you can see, I don't know if you can see it right. Oh, you can definitely see it right there. The second claw is freaking huge, almost raptorial-like, which is actually insane. Which makes me think I want to say they were kind of using it to, if you've seen vultures or some types of eagles, when they hold down prey and they use their heads to pull, I think this works as leverage for pinning down whatever food they're eating. But yeah, MERAXES, pretty insane. The individual that we found is pretty complete, not 100%, but it's pretty complete, and we can tell he was an old guy, like a pretty old guy. Well, a guy or girl, but it was like 39 to 50 something years old, which is insane. One of the oldest dinosaurs we've ever found. And the way it achieved this, it was at its almost maximum size, but I'm so sorry, but it obtained it relatively late, which differs a lot from, for example, Tyrannosaurus, which they accelerate their growth like really quick. Like they want to get big as soon as possible. But Carcharodontosaurus, they were like extending their growth rate throughout almost their entire lives. So like 10, 20 years, they were still growing, which is honestly really interesting, because even, you know, a big theropod, just a big head, just eat. No, they were like really different animals. So even by the way they were growing. So MERAXES, I'm gonna put you in. Oh, I'm so I kind of want to put an S tier. MERAXES is gonna be S tier, yes. GIGANOTOSAURUS. So we come to GIGANOTOSAURUS, one of the most famous dinosaurs here, period. Not just in Carcharodontosaurus, but in general. Yes, GIGANOTOSAURUS, not Gigantosaurus. You could say Giga or Giganotosaurus, I guess. But yeah, it's this giant southern lizard, one of the most popular dinosaurs ever discovered, because when it was described, yes, they called it bigger than T-Rex, which is not, or at least we don't have enough evidence of that yet, but it was still huge. I mean, these guys were like more than 40 feet long, which is crazy for theropod standards. And yeah, Giganotosaurus again, 70% almost complete skeleton, which is, you know, not too shabby for Carcharodontosaurus. You know, they're lacking on the fossil department, but you know, 70% is really good. We got that huge skull, and this is not a Giganotosaurus. This is a Carcharodontosaurus, but I forgot to bring it up in the Carchar part of the video. But I can show right here. This ridges right here. I wanted to talk about it. What were they made of? Because we thought in Giga that, you know, it was like a Giga thing, you know, and nothing too crazy, but it's actually a thing shared between almost all Carcharodontosaurs, or all Carcharodontosaurs for that matter. So what were they used for? They deserve any purpose? And yeah, probably. One thing is not discussed enough, I think, that I haven't heard a lot, but recently I've seen, and it actually makes a lot of sense, is they were probably using for headbutts. So if they put their heads against each other from here, those bony nasal ridges in front of the lacrimal bones, these lacrimal things, they probably, you know, served a lot of purpose in shoving matches, or maybe not like ram style, but you know, just, you know, trying to compete for territory, females, food, who knows. So yeah, Giga is a really cool animal. Also, some studies in thermal regulation showed that they were not exactly like mammals, but neither were exactly like reptiles. So maybe in the middle. So they were definitely endothermic creatures, you know, most likely warm-blooded, and they were very active. So this applies to almost every dinosaur. So, you know, studies in Giga were really thorough as well. And one thing I did want to bring up is that we need a redescription of this animal, because all of these fossils descriptions are from almost when it was first discovered. So I'm like, come on, it's Giga. Redescribe it again. Come on, we have better technology now. I don't know if I want to put an S tier, and honestly, I don't know if I want to put it in A tier. I want to put an A tier out of respect, but I am tempted to put it in B tier. ACROCANTHOSAURUS. So we come at the end of the tier list with some of you guys, because I know it, some of you guys' favorite dinosaur, ACROCANTHOSAURUS, the Carcharodontosaur from North America, which is, you know, very rare, or at least when I found out. And you know, when you were little and you're like, oh yeah, Carcharodontosaurus from North America, that's so cool, bro. There's like almost no. I don't know if I can't remember if it's the only one, but you know, if you compare it to South America, you know, there's like a ton over there. And ACROCANTHOSAURUS, while being alone in North America, it was the apex predator of its of its place, and that place was really big. It's from, we found fossils in Utah, Oklahoma, Maryland, Wyoming too. So this was very widespread in the United States. ACROCANTHOSAURUS, we found trackways as well, alongside Sauroposeidon trackways, which is, you know, that gives a little more insight into what they were trying to hunt, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I just realized I have a ton of Carcharodontosaur figures. They might be my favorite theropod group, I don't know. But ACROCANTHOSAURUS, you can already see, they have a longer skull than other Carcharodontosaurus. Longer skull. It's a little bit lower, you know, a little bit drooped down, and a little bit more narrow from the top, if you could believe it. A little bit narrower. Their forelimbs a little longer as well, so they probably aided in, you know, subduing prey. And yes, the main star of the group, the high neural spines, those things were tall. When I mean tall, they probably attached a ton of muscle, which aided in its weaker but not only less dangerous bite force. Yeah, Carcharodontosaurus lived with Tyrannosaurus and Deinonychus as well. And they were it was the apex predator, basically. Like, nothing was messing with this guy. And some recent studies, I can't remember where I read it. I can't remember the paper what it was, but it suggests that in the mechanics of the bite force of the spines, when they were, I believe when it was looking up, like the spines would interlock between each other. So it was basically like a system where it would improve the bite force, because the way it would work is that when he, I don't know if it's looking up or down, but the spines would lock into each other, and when it bites, it just wouldn't let go, which is honestly insanely crazy. It just makes ACROCANTHOSAURUS sound much cooler in my eyes. Acro is insane. One of the best Carcharodontosaurus ever discovered is gonna go straight into S tier. And that, guys, ends the Carcharodontosaur tier list. Finally, I've done it. I know I left out some Carcharodontosaurus. I don't know if I'll do another tier list on them, maybe. When we inevitably find the long lost Australian Carcharodontosaur, we will make another tier list. But yes, that's it for this one, guys. Like, please subscribe. Let me know what you think. How well will you change? What's your favorite Carcharodontosaur is as well. And if you agree with me, that's cool. If you do not agree with me, that's cool too. That's it for me here, guys. Thank you so much for watching, guys.